I'm Levi Morgan, and you're listening to the Manimal Mindset Podcast. All right, guys, welcome back to another breakdown here in the Manimal Mindset Podcast room. I'm Levi Morgan. If you're not familiar with the breakdowns, we have done a couple in the past where we take questions from you on my Instagram account, bowlife_Levi, and we bring them here and really dive deep into each question, try to answer it thoroughly for you rather than just skimming the surface. So let's get started. The first question comes from, don't know if I'm saying this right, Kelbley_66. And it said, Levi, what is your first light layering system for really cold weather? So there's two different scenarios here. One is if I have to walk a long ways and carry a lot of stuff, and the other is if I'm not walking far at all. And I'll start with we're going to walk a long ways. So keeping in mind, I will be using a pack that I can carry a lot of stuff. Or say we're taking a saddle in on my lease in Nebraska where we never walk less than a mile before daylight. But it's really cold, so once I get there, I need to be able to layer up. But I do not, like, your biggest enemy in that situation is sweating on the way in. So I'm going to use a wick hoodie, which is one of my favorite pieces, as probably my bottom layer. And then I'm probably going to run maybe the furnace hoodie on top of that. And then I'm going to run the wick pant and maybe like a Catalyst Foundry pant to walk in, because the Catalyst Foundry has the zippers that you can zip all the way down and vent your entire leg area for that walk. And the wick is the smallest of their or the thinnest of their layering base layers. So I would probably run that on my walk in and carry either the Solitude system or the Sanctuary, depending on how cold it was. If it's 20 degrees, I'm carrying the Solitude. If it's 0 degrees, I'm probably carrying Sanctuary. But I might even carry some furnace pant base layers and just change when I get to the tree. But I'm definitely want to make sure I'm not sweating on my way in. I'm also going to carry the Source jacket with me on that particular trip, which is a quiet puffy that First Light has, and that'll get put on top of my furnace hoodie and then my heavy jacket on top of that. I've never got cold with that system. Obviously, everybody's different with gloves. I don't hunt with gloves on. I keep just a hand muff so your normal wick face mask, something to cut the wind, and the beanie. I love their beanie cap, or whatever they call it, the toboggan cap. So that's really my layering piece for a long walk. If I'm not walking very far, say I'm getting dropped off and I got a 100-yard walk to my tree, I'm going to wear furnace base layer pant with like an Origin pant over top. Then I'm going to wear the wick. Then I'm going to wear the furnace hoodie and my Source jacket. And I'm going to get to the tree, and the only thing I'll put on at the base of the tree will be my bibs and my jacket, depending on, like, again, how cold it is, whether or not that's the Solitude or the Sanctuary. So that's my layering pieces for cold weather based on what I'm carrying and how far I'm walking, because that's the two things that will change that. Going on to the next question. This question is from Caleb_Allen, and it says, what is a good bow vise, arrow saw, and fletching jig to start out with? There's a lot of good ones. I just recently I use a lot of the Last Chance archery products. They just support what I do so much, it's hard to not support them back. Just the great guys over there too. Great family-owned operation at Last Chance Archery. So their new Revolution bow vise, really, really cool. I just installed it, started using it this week. Really solid. Has AR mounts for your guns, all kinds of stuff that you can put in this vise and work on it. So that would be a great vise there. The Last Chance arrow saw is another one that is the best one, in my opinion, on the market. And then the Fletching Jig, they're Veinmaster Pro, all from Last Chance. So you can get everything you need here under one roof at Last Chance Archery. Their Veinmaster Pro is really, really good. It can be difficult with the tack vanes because they're thin. So you just have to, takes a little practice, and I might do a video on that just showing how to do that with the Veinmaster Pro. But for the most part, the Veinmaster Pro is, in my opinion, the most versatile, customizable fletching jig on the market. Very easy to change helicals, very easy to figure out, change from 4 fletch to 3 fletch to different offsets, everything. So those 3 things would be my recommended picks for fletching jig, an arrow saw, and a bow vise. Moving on to question number 3. I see the one. I'll answer this one real quick. This is not the question. It says, where can I find the black First Light jacket that you wear a lot? And I don't think that's available. That's the Brooks jacket, but I don't think they are available in black anymore. I've had that since I first come on with First Light years ago. But this next question is from Nate_Cough12. In your opinion, what is the single most important thing to work on in archery? I think, well, archery, in my opinion, is 90% mental. So I think working on your mental approach to the game, depending on what you're doing, for what I do, my mental approach is the most important as far as archery specific thing I can work on. But a lot of that is confirmed and proved on the practice range with my mental approach. So you can't really practice your mental approach outside of practice. It's hard to sit on a couch, and it can be done, visualization, stuff like that, which works for some people and doesn't work for others. But I think working on my mental plan of attack, especially in tournaments and hunting, really, is to really just mentally go through every scenario you can think of, prepare yourself for all those scenarios, and just be mentally strong in that preparation where you, no matter what you're faced with, you've practiced it. Because that's really when I have failed in the past, is when I come up against a situation that I haven't been faced with. Have to hit a 14 in a 20-mile-an-hour wind. I don't know where to aim. I don't know how far off to aim. I don't know that the wind is also going to take distance out of my bow because of the arrow flight. All these things that you learn with experience that you can prove on the range and prepare for. It's kind of half mental, half physical preparation, but the two have to meet. That's probably kind of confusing because it's not one specific thing. If I had to pick one physical aspect to work on, it would be just pure shooting at distance because that shows you everywhere that you're messing up. So it would be clean, consistent execution of a pure shot. No influence of getting rid of any hint of target panic, and shooting distance that teaches you everything that's going wrong or going right in your shot. So if you told me you could do one practice for the rest of your life to prepare for hunting or for a tournament, what would it be? I would say I would shoot as far as I can get on my sight tape and practice, just standing there trying to shoot really tight groups at distance. Because if you can shoot a tight group at 100 yards, you can obviously shoot one at 50, 40, 30, and so on. So that's probably kind of a confusing roundabout answer, but it's really a hard answer or hard question to give one answer to. Next question, I think this is number 4, from C.Duncan86. What is your ideal holding weight for target versus hunting for you personally? For me personally, I've been all over the place, to be honest with you, especially not in hunting, but in tournaments. Hunting, I always shoot the highest let off that the bow comes in, normally 80 or 85% let off. My holding weight's normally around 17 pounds. So 15 to 17 pounds. In tournaments, I have been, depending on the bow, depending on what kind of shot I'm shooting, I've been all the way up to 22 pounds of holding weight, at like 73 pounds of actual draw weight. I've been down to 13 pounds of holding weight with 73 pounds of draw weight. So I used to shoot an extremely static shot, which means there was no pushing, no pulling at all. It was just enough to keep the bow at full draw, and I would shoot a really low holding weight, obviously there, like a 13 or 14 pounds of holding weight. I shot it really well, but what I would see happen was when I got really nervous and you shoot low holding weight, your wrist has a really free wiggle left and right. And so I noticed under immense pressure, like finals type pressure, that my line that I was shooting would start to widen, and I would just miss 12s and just left, just right with what I felt like was a good shot. I felt like my pin was still there when it fired, but my bow might have been turned, and it was just very easy almost to sit and pivot with those little bit of nerves that I had. So I started upping that holding weight, went all the way like the opposite direction, holding like 22 pounds of holding weight on like a 70V cam on a TRX 7. And I really loved that feel. Won a ton of tournaments like that, just really kind of like keeping that bow. I've never been a fan or pusher of back tension. I don't believe that it works with today's bows with the walls that we have. But high holding weight forces you to hold against that wall and pull harder. And so I did that for a while, had a ton of luck with it. And now I feel like I'm kind of back with the title. I'm back to a higher let off, 80%, but honestly, it feels a lot like those 70V cams I shot on my TRX. But my holding weight is now, I'd say it's probably 17 to 18 pounds instead of 21 or 22, and it's not 13. I've kind of met in the middle, have a really good feel what's going on, kind of not super static, but I'm also not trying to pull the bow apart, just a really comfortable place. But I've been all over the place and had success all over the place with holding weight over the years in tournaments. So I think it really goes into what kind of shot that you shoot. If you really shoot a lot of front weight on your bar and pull really hard, you're going to need a lot of holding weight. If you shoot a really light setup and a really static shot, you don't need as much holding weight. Now on my hunting rig, obviously you want less holding weight the better, in my opinion, because you want to be able to hold that bow back for a long period of time. It's a very uncontrolled environment when I'm hunting. I don't know if I pull back on a whitetail and he stops behind a tree, I want to be able to hold that bow for a minute. And if I'm shooting 22 pounds of holding weight, it ain't going to happen. So I'm not even sure what my holding weight is on my lift, but it's the highest let off that you can get on it. And I'm shooting like 75 pounds. I would imagine it's somewhere between probably 16 pounds of holding weight, 15, 16 pounds. I hope that answers your question on the holding weight, but honestly, there's no perfect spot for me. You said for me personally, so that's what I told you. It just really depends on the shot that I'm shooting for that certain situation. Another note on that is if it's windy out and you got low holding weight, it's a nightmare. If you don't have something that's pulling against you in wind or in even nerves, it can be a really tough thing to handle. And you see that pin movement go like just tighten up as you up your holding weight. So that's just another thing to note. Okay, we are moving along pretty quickly. But this is the final question of this breakdown. Comes from Garrison Huff _archery. What's your recommendation for size of a vane on a XXX? So a XXX is just 27 diameter. So let's just talk about all 27 diameter competition arrows, which for those of you that don't know is the biggest arrow that we are allowed to shoot in competition. And so I've been all over the place with that too. I've shot blazer vanes. I've shot 4-inch Q2Is. I've shot all kinds of stuff and had some success. But I tell you, I found last year I found a really, really good, what I feel like was one of the best combinations I'd ever had. And this year too, with a little bit different combination, I'm finding the same results. So I shot a 4-fletch last year on my XXX with 2.75 tack drivers. So tack vanes, I feel like are the best vanes in the world. And I shot the 2.75 tack drivers 4-fletched. But I didn't shoot them on the normal 4-fletch offset. I shot them with the 105/75 offsets because I shot them off a blade rest. And I had like a 2-degree left helical on those vanes. Shot extremely well. This year I wanted to try the 3-fletch 2.75 drivers on those on the new Ultra 27s I'm shooting with 150 up front, and see how they stabilize, just so I didn't have to worry about that clearance on a blade rest, because I'm shooting the Q8A TRI. And so I love that rest. Didn't want to shoot the drop away. So I tried to go back to a 3-fletch just to make sure I'm getting complete clearance at all times on those vanes. And honestly, I'm getting the same result with that 2.75 tack driver, 3-fletched with a 2-degree left helical. So I think, in my opinion, the best vane for a 27 diameter shaft outdoors is a 2.75 tack driver. All the testing I've done, that stabilizes the best, holds its downrange velocity the best, groups the best, is the toughest. So I just think overall that's the best vane you could put on your arrow. If you're shooting indoors, I would say go to a 3.75 tack driver. You can 4-fletch it. You can put more helical on it. Whatever you want to do. I think, you're shooting a 27 diameter. You're probably not shooting long distance with that arrow, so you're probably shooting out to 50 yards max. So you can roll more helical. You don't really want to get too much helical on an arrow if you're shooting distance, because it'll start to try to slow down the back end faster than the front end, and you get this parachuting effect. But inside of 50 yards, you can really put whatever you want on there as far as an offset or a helical. But I would recommend the tack driver vane. It's light, stiff, controls that big arrow really, really well. And that's what I've had the best luck with. But we went through those 5 questions pretty quickly, guys. These breakdowns, we're going to continue to do them. Everybody has really liked them. It just allows me, again, to dive in deeper on these subjects and answer them with more detail than I could in maybe a live or doing something like that where I'm trying to get to a million different questions at once. Just another way that I can kind of get some information out to you guys. There's a lot of bad information on YouTube from guys you probably shouldn't be listening to, and there's some good stuff out there too. But if you like what you're seeing here on my channel, I would really appreciate you subscribe, hit that like button, hit that notification bell. All that stuff really helps. Like I said, I'm fairly new to the YouTube game, but I'm getting better at it. Plan on continuing the growth here with our team. Really blessed, really thankful to be able to do this and have this platform to share what I have learned in my lifetime of a bow and arrow. So appreciate you. Keep a lookout on my Instagram for me needing more questions for the next breakdown. Hope it helps. Have a great day.